So hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 181, and in this video we continue with our exercise. We have already created a little bit, and now I will go on. And in my last video I had a problem because it was the gender problem, because there was a text. Let me show you this again. When I start my text here, then what happens was, if I wrote a female name, Maggie, for example, then, and say here, when we read here, Maggie is walking on the sidewalk, and all right, here I have already kicked it out, but here was, and he decided to cross the street. So we have to solve this. And in this video, we try to solve this gender problem. Very easy, actually. What we are doing is the same thing what we did before. We just asked the PC user, or whoever is in front of the PC, to enter his gender. So with other words, we are just doing the same thing what we did here again, but with a little bit changed text. And let me show you this one here. I did here already a little bit, so I just copy it here again so that I have here the same thing. So what I did is really the same thing before. I think we just put this info in. So I put this one here, and you can see it's exactly the same like before. I have here asking what is your name, type your name in. Now I'm saying what is your gender, type M for male and F for female. And yeah, and then we have, of course, to create this input where we want to save it. And I want save this information again here on top. You can see I called this gender input gender info. Let's see if I can make here create variable. Is this possible here? No, I have to create it manually. All right, then let's create this manually input. So because I know it will be pressed M or F, so let's make again a string, std string, and input gender info at start, it's not set. And yeah, that is just for saving the information which we get as an input, right? The point is here, we have now saved the information, but we have to use this as well. But before we can use it, we need to also, yes, we need again, like in the last video, we need check if, what we have to check? We have to check if the gender is a male or a female, and then react properly. Because if it's a male, then we have to change this text he. If it's a female, then we have to change this he to she, right? Because then I have to say many cars on the street, so she decided to use the traffic lights, not he. And now there are different ways actually to do this. So as a programmer, you have to decide how you want to do this. But in my case, I will show you both versions. So let me see what I did here. So I decided, okay, here I make first a transform. For example, if the input is M, I write male. Of course, you could ask here directly the PC user to input male, right? But most time it's better just to ask a very short thing, and then you make the translation behind the scene. So it takes not too much time, but it's up to you, right? And I made it this way, so the PC user is just writing here M, and then I translate it for him to male, and F for female. This is just what I did, and here I save this again in a variable. So let's do this as well. So this is let me copy this one and show you this one as well. So this is really optional, right? This here is just if the input info which we have here was M, you can see it is just a check. Then I write gender. We have to create this gender variable now. And now we have to create another variable. It's again a string. And now at start it's not set. It's okay. And now here it will be set. So here, if the input here, which we get from this line here, from the PC user, it was, for example, M, then I translate it to mail. But of course, like I said before, you can say also here type mail directly. You could just skip this part here. Let me show you this. You could type male or female, right? You could write something or female, something like type male, something like this, or female, so that you can make it clear what you want, and then you don't have to this one here, because this input gender info would get the right information which we want to use later. But in my case, I wanted that that the user should type as less as possible, and I make for him the work. So this is my solution, because most time it is good that the user should it's most time good that the user type not so much and not waste not so much, because most time the users are in a hurry anyhow and we don't want to waste their time. All right, with that said, this is my solution, and you can see I used here again a very simple if, else if, and interesting is here in the structure I don't use a else or other things, because we are allowed to do this. You can use this one, you can use also separate ifs and all this kind of stuff. All right, so far it's nice, and now I saved this information. So first of all, I get the information if the person is a male or a female, and then I translated this M and F to the proper gender, and now I can use this. So I have saved all the information, right? This is so user input information, which I saved here on top. That's a nice strategy. Most time are very straightforward and easy to maintain, but I will show you in a moment another way which is also possible. I don't know if it's good, that you have to decide in a moment. So let's continue. So what I did here is, here I did one more step, because now we have the gender male and female, and like I said before, for the text here, right? So later in the text I need to say, let me show you this one here. Here in our text, I have to say, okay, the person simulation name, that was, for example, Maggie. And then here is walking on the sidewalk. And then I have to, and here I have anyhow to find a way to insert the right pronoun, right? But right now I have found here on top only the gender. Right, this is the gender information. For example, here I have now female, and I have female saved now in this gender. Now I need one more step and translate this one. Right, we need a she or he, depends on the gender. And I solved this with this. I created here. Oh, why I have here only 3 and 4? I don't know. Let's see. Gender pronoun. Let me see. Gender input, gender info. Let me see what I have here. Name, gender. Okay. This one is also very important to say. Okay. Here, one more thing. You can see this variable I have not in my first version. So what is here the difference? The difference is here, this one is in the global class variables, and the other one is again in the local one, which I made before. And that is, I told you already, if you have an opportunity to make it local, then you should make it local. And the reason for that is that it is not later that we have not anyhow problems with name clashing or side effects and all this kind of stuff. It's called encapsulating. So you try to make this very specific, and you don't have to think too much. For example, if you have put all the variables now here in global and you have later more functions, then you have to think, okay, where this variable belongs to which function, this one or this one. But if you make it local, for example, now I put it from here, like in my other version, here in it, so I don't have to think. I know this input gender information will be needed in this function and not in this function. So it makes easier to think for the programmer. And that's why they say all time, make local variables as much as possible. But here, for the other ones, this ones here, I could make, of course, here anyhow local too, right? So you can see I'm using it here and here, but careful, these variables here I need to use in other places as well. So you make only variables local which you are not using in other places. For example, this input gender information I will use only in this function here. But the other one here, for example, this gender here, this gender I will use probably in other places. And if I'm using this in other places, then I make this global. If I'm not using this in other places, for example, you can see this name here, which we assigned here, but I'm going to use it down here as a call, person in simulation name. So I use it in other places, then I make these variables, I put it in the global class space, I am here. And if it's not used in other places, then you put it in local scopes, right? For example, into this one. That's very important. And don't worry if you make this at start wrong or right, because you can later check if you use this in other places. And how we can check this here at info, you can, here's the selected variable, right? You can go here, and don't forget, this is a very nice thing. Right click, and here is this, I showed you this one time, but that's why we make these exercises that I show you it again. Here, you can go to this find all references. References means where it is used more or less, right? When you click on it, and then you can see here on the bottom some places, and you can see it is input here, 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 and here. And there is no more reference, which means these are all the places which this variable is used. And you can see these are all the places which is within the function, right? And when you have something like that, put it in the function. But let's check now this name here. So I checked this variable, but let's check this name here as well, this one. Right click, find all references, and now let's check where it is. So here, okay, that's the wrong way to check it. Let's check this here on top. Let's click here, find references. Now, I hope this works now. Why is this not working? What's the problem here? Let's select this a little bit. Find all references. Okay, I'm not so sure. This one is referencing in other places too. That's a little bit heavy now to understand, but yeah, that's not very nice. That's not so important now. Anyway, you can check it on your program as well. If this is this one we will talk later, you can see when I go here and it's jumping to other places where it's because it's associated with other things as well, which we have not talked yet. That's not so important. If this is not working, then just watch where you use it here in your game. For example, I think I made here one more mistake. This gender here, let's see. Find all references. This gender is, I think it's only used here in this function. So let's check it. So gender is here on top because here I'm asking if I really need it there. Okay, the gender is here used. Gender is here used. Gender is here used. It's still within this function, right? And oh, we have more. Gender is used in another function as well. And if this is the case, so you can see we use this local but we used it in another function as well here, then I can't use it local anymore. That's the point where you say, okay, this works not. I need this in this global space of this class. And the reason for that is, careful, I say class. In class, it's not really global. So the real global space is outside of the class. But when I say global, I mean here in the public section, in not local, right? So I think this word global is here a little bit wrong. But you know what I mean, right? So, and not local. So you should not use it local. You should use the variable here on top where every function has access to it, right? For example, I have no access to this function here in the other place because it's local. We talked about scope a little bit. All right. Let me show you this. If I try to access now this input gender info here, for example, I write instead this one, input gender info, and you can see it's already not input gender info. You can see it's not accessible. Already makes a error because it's local, right? That's very important. Control Z to make it backwards. Come on. No. All right, or whatever. So I hope you understand this, and you have to check, okay, this gender, it's in other place. I can't make local, but this gender pronoun is used just here. That's a question. If I need it not in other places. We will check this later. So, okay, we check this just later if this is... Normally you could normally the right way is not check later. Normally what you make is, let's do it right. Sorry for that. Normally what you do is first you start local. That's the way to go normally. And the reason is very simple. When you start local, then you know you will use it here, right? But later when you need it in other places, then you will have no access to this variable. And then you say, oh, but I need access to this variable. And then you just take this local and put it here in this out of this local space so that other functions get access to it too. So that's the normal way. And let's learn it the right way so that we have not to think later too much. So I start to put this gender pronoun first local. Now, if I need it later in other functions too, in other places, then I put it out here. That's so my way to go. All right, let's. I talked here too much, but I hope you get the idea. It's very nice that you understand this and to use this later in programming. Okay, this gender pronoun not set, it's here. We will set it here. And what I'm doing here is, this is the next thing. First, I get the information female or male. Then I translated this into, first I get here an F or M. Then I translated this M on F to male and female. And then I think this one is even not needed here. And then I translated this gender male to a he and she for the gender pronoun. I don't know if perhaps I made here a little bit too much work because this one is not really needed, because I could say input M gender male, and you could also put this gender pronoun here at the same time. Let me show you this gender pronoun, and then just write here he, right? This is a shortcut, and the reason why I did this one is only to show you repeat the ternary operator. I wanted make more complicated work, and it's not the best way. So that what I'm showing here is not best programming, but I wanted to use the ternary operator. What is the ternary operator? Look what we have here. Do you remember this one here? This is the ternary operator. Can you explain it? And try to explain this one. That's why I made it so complicated. Normally I would not make this so complicated. But yeah, And anyway, later you have to polish it anyways and check your code. But we make a repetition. I hope you understand it and try to understand this ternary operator. So I hope you understand it and I explain it now. So the ternary operator is similar to a if, right? It's you have a condition, which is here. Then you have this this question mark here. And this question mark says, if this condition is true, I take here the first thing for true. The first one is for the truth, and then I assign it here to this pronoun, to this variable which you created, in my case gender pronoun, and that's why my gender pronoun is a string. That's why the true state is a he. And if this one is false, the ternary operator, the question mark says, okay, if it's false, then we have here this colon, this, and separates the true and false states. This is the false states. Then we have this one. So I hope you remember this. That was the only reason why I did this. So I repeat many structures again. Normally, like I said, you can just put it here and that's it. Or you don't even need this mail here. So this mail probably you can skip as well. I just use it so I can show you this, repeat this structure. All right, with that said, let's continue. So I don't have it in my place. First of all, I have to copy this ternary operator. Let's copy this one and yeah. Let's paste this one here and let's see. So now I have this gender pronoun. That was the other place, by the way. And here in gender pronoun, let's create this one. And like I said, when you create variables, we start all time local. And later, gender pronoun. And later, not set at start. And later, when we need this outside of this function, we will make this here, for example, I need a gender. I thought I don't need a gender, but I used the gender. It's interesting. So I used the gender indeed. This male and female I need, but there is a way probably to make it without a need. So let's go on. So you see there are many little things to consider. So let's see. The next thing what I may see made is you have to check the function if you really need a return type. So you can start with a void or you can start with a return type. Here I started with a return type because I thought, hey, perhaps I return here the function, I've returned here a string and use it directly in my text anywhere. I will show you later with a second function how this works, but at this function here actually is bad with a return type. Why? Why is this bad? Because first of all, later you have to check where the function is called and then decide if this function where it is called needs a return type. But in my case, this function is never called later where it needs a return type, but it is called where it needs to set all these variables. So there are different kind of purposes of functions. One functions are setting just variables. For example, here in my case, this one here, I need this information, your name, I need the information gender, and yes, this function is just to set this information, but before it sets these two informations, it will ask you all this kind of stuff on the screen. So let's see what I'm doing. So first of all, I have not a return type, but if I need a return type, I can create a return type. So you can see, you can here switch like you want. I say right now, I don't need a return type. And that means I don't need this return here as well, because this return means you return something, I return nothing, or you are aborting something, I don't abort anything here. All right, so I hope so far it's clear. And don't worry if we need a return type later, we add it. So easy it's it. We just change here the signature. So in my case, yeah, one more word to this return, to this setup. This one is called later here. You can see we created our variable person in simulation. That was this so this person in simulation, that was our class, right? We created this class. This is this class where we are working. Then person in simulation, and here is this person name assigning. So this person name assigning, this is indeed this function here we calling, but you can see here, very important, this here is just a normal call. This is not integrated in anything for our use. This is just call it, and call it means here in our case just execute this body, and you will get only the information which is set here in our body. For example, let's start it. Let's see if this is working, by the way. And it is say here, what is your name? Type your name. Okay, let's write with Maggie because we want to test the other. And then what is your gender? Type M for male and F for female. Okay, let's type here F because Maggie is a female. And then Maggie is walking on the sidewalk, and here is still an error. I have to do something here. And then we go on. So, but the important part is here, this one is just getting information. And now we see the other version. I want to show you something that we can use information which is not just saving. And before that, let's fix this error here, because in my simulation here, it says here, Maggie is walking on the sidewalk, and here is a hole, right? Here is a little hole. And how we can fix this? There are different ways, million different ways. I make it very simple. What I'm doing is, after this one, I make here a stop. You can see this one. And then I just make here, let's see, we can go to the next line, you know this, right? Yeah, but important is, of course, I have to make here the stop. Here are the parentheses. Here is the next line call. Let's do this one also in the next line. Why I do this here? So here, this one here needs again a parenthesis. This quotation marks, not parentheses. Sorry, this quotation marks. And here between that, I write now this little she or he, depends, right, on the person. And now we have this information here. We have asked for this information at the start, right? And this gender has now translated this one, because if it was a M, or then it was here a he. If it was a F, this ternary operator made a she, and it is in our gender pronoun. And this gender pronoun I saved. Oh, I saved it here local. Now I see I have a problem. So why I see I have here a problem? So what is the problem here? Because like I said, I want to use it here, exactly at this point. And you have now to find a way how you can get this gender pronoun variable to this point here, right? And there it's actually very easy ways and a little bit more complicated ways. Let's make the easy way, and let's make it very easy. So the gender pronoun is here. Normally what you would do is you take the person simulation, right? So the object, which is our person, that's a person simulation. And then this is our class, by the way. This is our class. Also this variable has access to our class here. And now if the variable would be here on top, and it would be public, very important, a public access specifier I need here, then I could just say, okay, here, dot, and now give me gender. But this gender is not the right one, because we need this gender pronoun, right? Gender here is just saying male or female. I need this word he or she. And this he or she I saved in this gender pronoun. The gender pronoun is here local, and that's why I have no access to it. So one very easy way is to say, okay, here, put this local variable. I talked so much about it, and you can see it. We started with a local variable, but I need it now in another place where I want to access it. And this is very easy. Put it now not local. Make it not local. Just say I need access it. I need to access it, and I need it with a public access specifier because there are still other ways how you can access it, but in this case I make it very easy. So now it's public, all classes can all have access to it, and also it's public access, which means I can call it from anywhere. And now here dot gender pronoun, it is, I know it is translated, and very important here, this gender pronoun must be a string. Why is this important? Because here I use this function cout, and cout has this overloaded operator which we have not talked about it, but this one is expecting that you are using a string. This one will cause a problem if you are not using a string here. And yeah, and then we can test it if this is working. Now you can see now I used just this string here, very easy. In my text I included this one. So let's try this one out again. So let's try it again. Name Maggie. Okay, I'm F, and now it says Maggie is walking on the sidewalk, and she, okay, there it's working, but I need a space here. Let's make the space here. Here she, and here decided I make here a space. All right, here's the space here. This is important after the quotation mark here. This is just for style, but I think it is working so far, right? Not so bad. All right, now again, Maggie, F, and you can see this is again my information block, and this is here, this other one is my simulation, which is the action which takes part in our scene. For example, this one, when you make this one here, you would make here a box where you get here some informations, and this second part would be the action, which is not a box. Then this character perhaps walks then here or do something. Yeah, let's go on. So Maggie is walking on the sidewalk and she decided to cross the street. All right, we have already did something here, right? But let's test with male too if this is really, well, sometimes the other one is not working. So let's write here coder this time, and coder is male, and let's see, so coder is walking on the sidewalk and he decided to cross the street. It is working. It is working. So we integrated this one. We understand a little bit about this namings, and let's see what I have done here more. I think, oh yes, this one here, it looks very much what I did, but actually it's not so much. It's a very bad solution. Let's talk about this one fast too. The next thing is, of course, the next block. The next block is here. Let me show you this one. What's the, oops, not this one. I have to open up 1 second. Again here, this is it. So the next thing is now here, here we ask for the next action. So first we walked here, decided to cross the street, but now we watch here the street if there are many cars or not, and then we are deciding to use the traffic lights if there are cars. If there are no cars, then we say, okay, we can go over this. We don't need to use our traffic light. We can cross the street here. All right. So that's the next part. And here we coded also a little bit before. So, and now the same problem like before. What is the same problem? We have here a he. We have here the same problem like before, the gender problem. And now I show you another solution. So this solutions which I show you here is not the best solutions, but I want to repeat a little bit. And here I want to show you something else. And the first thing what I do is, let's copy this line here and then try to explain you that. So I hope you know what this line is. So here we have here a normal if question, and we know if means all time you are checking a condition. And here at this point, first of all, let's start here. Sorry for that. Let's start here. First, we are asking the PC user, are there many cars on the street? And then you say yes for Y for yes, and N for no. And then if he says yes, then here we make our check. Input here, which we saved here, what is typing in, we save here, and here it is a local variable. That's good. We start with a local variable, and then if it's if the PC user says yes, then I print out this one, and if it says no, then I print out this one. But we have here the problem again with this gender. How we can solve it? There are different ways to solve it. I wanted again use a thing what we learned so that you can repeat this one, and what it is this one. What is that? What is that what I'm using here? Can you remember this one? Very simple. Here's again our input, and then we have also information here on top. This name, oops, not this name, this gender. We have saved here in the first call the gender, right? So we have this information as well. So here I make a comparison for male. I make a comparison for yes. And what was this one here? Do you remember this one? This was this logical operator AND. And what the meaning was, both must be true. Only if both are true, because these are conditions, right? We know that this is a condition because we have here a comparison operator equal, so this and this. If this both are equal, it says here this becomes true, and the same goes here. If this and this becomes equal, this becomes true, and if both are true, then this body of the if statement will be executed. So this that was what I wanted here, and this one is not the best solution, like but it is one solution, and I use this here the whole over the place. And instead of showing now you this code here and replacing it step by step, I just copy here now this here, because I explain it now you, because it's the same thing like I showed you here, only I replace this little thing. So you can see I entered this one here, and here I ask again if you say yes, if you are a male, and here is important the return. Return many cars on the street, so he decided. So important is here. And why I start here with many cars and not with a real sentence, the reason is this sentence will be added down here when I write, when I call it. So let me show you what I mean. Decided to cross the street, and the next sentence here, the next simulation, it starts here with, what is that? What we have here? I'm not sure if this is the right one, but let's make this one. It looks it's the right one, but let me copy this sentence here. Yes, we copy this one here to be sure that this one is really this one. I think it is the same thing, but let's see. So, and here I have a person name. Okay, here is already something. Person in simulation. Okay. Person in simulation. Here and person, they are not absolute equal, I say. Person in simulation. All right. So the point is, here I call person in simulation name, see person in simulation traffic check. Here you can see the next after this text here. Let me start it. It's better here to see, so you can follow it. So here I say, okay, we have here Maggie. Maggie is F, and then the first block is finished. Maggie is walking on the sidewalk and she decided to cross the street. Now the second block comes in, the second function, and are there many cars on the street? And this one you ask the PC user, and then he can say yes. This is the condition, yes. And after the condition, yes, Maggie see many cars on the street and she decided to use the traffic lights. And here I have already finished it, but let me explain this. This point, Maggie, this is this person name here. This one, this is our simulation. See many, this you can see what I did here is just added to this output, this normal C. This is this part. See many cars, and you can see this many cars is here not as an output. It is a function call. So I use here this function call instead of writing anything, but this function itself has this. And now we are jumping from here to this one here, and we have checked this one here, this person traffic check. We have now here this information which we provided before. We have this information. You can see it will now find the right sentence here. Depends on our right information. For example, Maggie was here. On top, I provided the information. Maggie was F. F means female. So input Y would be wrong here. This would be skipped. This would be skip. No, this is not this is input read. Sorry, wrong. This one, gender male, would be skipped because we are checking here gender, and the gender is set here with this one. I translated this. So let me go back this again to show you this. So Maggie, press here F because she's a female, right? And F is translated here to female in my translation if here. And female is saved here in gender. And gender is used here in my check. And this first check says, no, you are not a male. So this one will not print out. And you can see the male has here a he in my text. And the second one is, again, check gender female. Yes, but it checks also if you put here, right, yes for did you see many cars. If you say yes, then this text here will be printed out, and it says here many cars on the street. So she decided to use the traffic lights, and you can see the sentence here is now just included to this other sentence here. Person name was Maggie C, and then it jumps here many cars on the street, and she decided to use the traffic lights. So that's all what I did here. And of course, if it's wrong, because if you press N, then I wrote here the same, return no cars on the street. So he crosses the street if this is a male, and if this is a female, no cars on the street. So she just crosses the street. And here you can see this is very simple solved. It's not probably the best solution. There are other solutions as well. But what I want to show you here is I used here two different kind of ways to solve it. The different way is, first of all, here you can see here in the simulation, here I started to create a person. This is our class which we are going to use, this person class. Right now we are just in this person class. All right, and then here I called the function, right? The first function, which is person name assigning. And I have here two functions. The next function is this traffic check. And these two functions are used in different ways. What I mean with different way, can you understand what I mean with different ways? Watch this one and watch this one, right? So what I mean here with in different ways is here I just called the function, just called it, but not used it in an integration. For example, here in this second function, I called this function, but I used this function call in this output here. And the difference is, like you can see it here, I use this return value because all this other all this if have here return, and they are returning a string, and the string is saved here as a return value, and this one is directly used here, right? So that's the difference here. On the other hand, the first one which I talked here, I save all the informations in a variable, and after I saved all these informations in a variable, I call the object and use these variables, right? So the difference is when you watch this one, the first one has used saved informations, and the second one is actually not using saved informations. It's using directly the information what he's evaluating at this point, right? Because here I call this function. This function will you are performing all the actions, and depends on your action, you will get a return value, and this return value is actually, you could save it by the way too, because you can save this still. You have here the possibility to save this anyhow. You can make here a variable and save this one as well in a variable, but I have not saved it here. I just use the return value, which means at this point I have no more access to that what I saved. And you have to consider this kind of stuff with function if you want program things where you want save the variables or let's say the informations, like in the first part here. Here I save all the informations and then I call them later with the object, or in this case it's you just use it. You just call the function, use the information. You don't save here this return value here, for example. After this one it is just used in my case, but of course, like I said, you still can save it and then it's gone. The problem is here it's gone, right? So if you want this information again anyhow, it is not saved. So that's very important to note, because depends on the programming style and depends on the complexity of the program. I would prefer perhaps this one if it's something very complex. Then the reason is very simple. The version here is you are just saving it on variables, and if you have saved them on variables, you can check it very easy when you call it. For example, okay, I have saved here at this point all in variables. It's all saved. Now I need it here at this point. I just call the this object and then the variable which I need, because I know at this point it is safe because I called it before. Here on the other hand, it is not saved. You must be integrated directly, and that's it. I think I stop here, and because that's it for this version, we will go to the next class probably in the next video, because I need now, oh, where is my class? I need now this traffic light, and this traffic light I have to create probably another class, because now when I say I decided to use the traffic light and the traffic light has a traffic light button, perhaps I make this button in this traffic light, so I just create a traffic light. But there are many other things which we have to include this traffic light, for example this light switching to red, green, and so on. But okay, that's for the next video. We probably create another class, and you can see this class is actually not too big, I think. But yeah, I hope you made a better solution than me. If not, no worry. That's why we make these exercises. We train to understand, to learn, and yeah. And with that said, if you have any questions or any complaints, like all time, write it in the comments. And like all time, never give up, have fun. See you in the next, and bye.